I really appreciate that, and I want to thank Chairman Stevens and all of the officers and members of the active Portage County DEMS. I really do appreciate that. And you know, when the chairman was saying that Representative Clyde is a warrior, she really, really is. And we do almost every single voting initiative. We check in with each other, and we usually do it together. She is an authority on elections, and I couldn't have a better partner. We talk, we text, we do everything together when it comes to voting. So I just want to give her a shout out and let you know how vitally important and valuable she is in the Ohio legislature. She is standing up for not only Portage County, but she is standing up for the entire state of Ohio. I adore her. Representative, she might not know that I'm going to say this tonight, but I was at an event in Akron, and there's a young lady there running for House District, Amelia Sykes. And Amelia, you know, her and Kathleen, they're in that, you know, Generation Y, you know. And so I'm told that the dear representative made a comment about more seasoned folks, that there's not enough young people in the Ohio House. And I said to myself, dang, I used to think I was pretty young, but you know. So she thought, you hurt my feelings there. But for those of us who are a little more seasoned, and no, I love her. I had to give her some grief on that. But it is such a pleasure to be in Portage County. I am just so excited to be here. And I just want to thank you for all that you do. And Democrats, I want you to know something. See, you stand up for all folks' right and ability to be able to live their measure of the American dream. And that's why I'm a Democrat. I'm proud about that. And I'm going to tell you something. You should be proud. And, you know, I'm a Mother Jones kind of girl. And so I just want to lay that out on the table right away. And Mother Jones once said that she would pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And that is how I roll at all times. And I am not ashamed to say that. And I really appreciate you for having a vision and a passion for being involved, because that is really what we need in 2014. We need folks to be involved. We need people to be just as excited as they were to make sure that we delivered Ohio for President Barack Obama as we did in 2008 and we did in 2012. All eyes will always be on the great state of Ohio. And as Representative Clyde, she was talking about, you know, some of my national appearances. And I remember after the president's first debate, you remember that moment? It was kind of sad. I just got to tell you, Portage County, I couldn't get out of bed the next day, just to be honest with you. And I didn't know what happened to our president, but I always believed and I always knew that he would rebound, and I always believed and knew that our great state would deliver. But I remember Chairman being on Ed Schultz's show about a day or so after that, and everybody was a little nervous, and he said, Senator, is Ohio still going to deliver? You know, and I looked in the, you know, I said, Ed, Ohio will deliver for President Barack Obama. You better believe we will. And what you didn't see on TV though is I went back to this green room, and those of you who are some praying folks, I got down on my knees. I said, now Lord, I've been selling all kinds of wolf tickets on national TV. We got to deliver for the president. A sister could use a little help. But we did it. He is the right man for this time, right job. He cares about all people, not based on party affiliation, but he gets it. That working class and middle class and poor people, that everybody counts. And I'm just so vitally proud that Ohio, you know, our slogan about us being the heart of it all, it is true that we are. All eyes were on us in 2008, all eyes on us in 2012. But I want to talk to you about 2014. There is no such thing as an off-year election. And we gotta stop calling it that. We gotta change the vibe when it comes to people getting out and really participating in the electoral process in non-presidential years. Because I guarantee you that your school board member, your township trustee, your sheriff, your mayor, your council people who represent you in Columbus are more important or just as important because they deal with the everyday things that you need to be vibrant as a community. And so we have to start to say to folks that every year there is a person or an issue on the ballot that will have an impact on your lives. Let's talk about local government fund. I know the sheriff is here, and we got some local folks here. And Representative Clyde can testify to the fact that every budget that we have had since the current governor was in office has slashed local government funding. It has been past the buck budget. You look at the budget, you look at school funding, you look at how folks are, the taxes, rewarding, giving tax breaks to ultra wealthy folks, meanwhile penalizing people who are working class and poor and middle class. Something is wrong with that kind of vision for Ohio, but there's an act for that, and it is called the election of 2014. We can change that and turn Ohio back blue. That is our job. But all roads lead through the ballot box. All roads lead through the ballot box. As one brother from the House of Labor, I think it was AFSCME Council 8, once said, what can be gained in the workplace can be taken away at the ballot box. We know what they tried to do in 2011. And unfortunately, some people have forgotten that battle, that in order to have, that people who work should have collective bargaining rights. And our brothers and sisters who are in the House of Labor lift the wages and the work environment for everybody else. That we are all in this together, whether we're unionized or not, male or female, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, you name it. We are in the place of humanity together. And so we rise or fall together. And so to have folks elected to office, can I just say, Portage County Democrats, I think the prerequisite for being elected to office ought to be that you like folks before you run for office. We got a whole bunch of people elected, they don't even like people. I don't even know why they run. Can you imagine? I want you to pretend like we are the board of elected, we are the board of, we're the board for an auto company. Now let's take GM, right? And, well, yeah, maybe GM have messed up a little bit. Maybe I might want to change that company. But follow my point though. And so we're interviewing folks, and every person that we interview, we ask them, so what is it about cars? Why would you like to be the CEO of our auto company, of our Portage County auto company? And one person that we interview says, well, you know what, board members, I really don't like cars all that much. Now, after we laugh that person out the door, their resume is going into file 13. And the reason why is because they just confessed to you that they don't like cars. So why is it that we continue to elect people to office who hate government, who want to destroy the very fabric and fiber of government from the inside out? Something is wrong with that. Because government is designed for us to do collectively what we cannot do for ourselves as individuals. It doesn't mean that government is perfect, but the founding fathers said to form a more perfect union. Every generation is charged with the task of making our union better. But unfortunately, we got elected officials in office who, instead of using the power of the people to make the paths straight, to help to lift people, have decided that they're going to use their power to hurt folks. And you may say, Senator Turner, why do you say that? I say that with absolute conviction, because I serve in a General Assembly that rather than to make sure that people have jobs, we have 400,000 people unemployed in the great state of Ohio, but instead of doing those things that put people back to work, they are engaged in all kinds of foolishness and folly. Does it make sense to me to have a budget that increases taxes on poor, working class folks and middle class people? And there is a difference between being poor, working class, and being middle class. People who are in the middle class, you want to stay there, and people who are poor want to get there. And I've never met, I'm a college professor too, and on the first day of class, I usually ask my students, what do they want to be when they grow up? And Chairman, I have yet to hear a student say the following: Professor Turner, when I grow up, I want to be poor. And I want to be on public assistance. I want to be on Medicaid. You know, that is the life for me. But I do know that everybody does not run the race at the same pace. And so we should be proud to be a safety net nation. But what do the Republicans in the House do? They go on Christmas break without extending unemployment benefits. To 1.3 million Americans, our neighbors, our friends, our relatives, people who have families, who need to know where they're going to put their next meal on the table, or pay rent or mortgage, or pay a car note, but had the pure, unadulterated gall to say Merry Christmas. 1.3 million folks, and now the number has increased to well over 2 million people who needed those unemployment benefits that they earned to be extended. They debate the SNAP program. They take the SNAP program out of the Farm Bill, and I just met with some farmers in Columbus who were just absolutely outraged about the fact that they wanted to remove the SNAP program from the Farm Bill. Because let me tell you what SNAP does. From a moral perspective, it helps folks who go to bed at night. We got a lot of food insecurity in the greatest country on the face of the earth. SNAP was created to help poor families, folks so that they can eat, babies so they don't have to go to sleep at night with their stomachs growling. But beyond the moral imperative of SNAP, it's an economic driver. Because those folks will use that money and go into our local grocery stores and buy food. The buying of the food keeps the clerk employed. But they cut it. They cut it. They are heartless. And I'm going to tell you something, Democrats, we need not play around with this. They are heartless. Absolutely heartless. Do not like people, and they have got to go. Now, but before we get to 2016 before we deal with 2014. We can't jump over it. So I don't want Democrats, we can't get caught up in who's going to run for president. Now, whoever she may be. I'm excited to be a sister of the White House. I'm excited about that. But before we get there, though, we cannot pass 2014. So I'm just saying to you, we Democrats, we got to have a righteous indignation. See, we let Republicans get away with stuff. And then we're too ashamed or afraid, I don't know what it is, to stand up to them and tell them, you are heartless. Now, Representative Clark, I can tell you, because the mid-biennium budget, now I know, because I'm going to work my way to voting, I'm setting this up, you just got to follow me 1 minute here. We are dealing with the mid-biennium review, right, Representative? See, I got somebody to say amen to what I'm saying. She knows. Now, it's over in the House where she is right now. Let me tell you what these folks just did. The Cuyahoga County has an executive form of government. I was one of the reformers. So we have a charter. So what our county executive and the person that's running for governor decided to do against the voter suppression efforts is to say, you know what? We're going to mail out unsolicited absentee ballot applications despite what the state had to say about it. So in the Ohio House, some Republican put an amendment in the MBR to take away 10% of the local government funding for any local government, i.e. Cuyahoga County, that would mail out an unsolicited ballot application. Cut local government funds, fire, police, health and human services. What kind of folks? I'm telling the truth. They also put a provision in there not to allow college students, athletes, that the state will have to recognize them if they try to unionize. What kind of folks do that? Now, I just told you, Democrats, we got 400,000 unemployed, underemployed Ohioans. We should be working to create pathways of opportunity for those folks. We should be working to restore funding to the local government fund, not cutting the local government fund. We should be working to make sure that all of our children have the requisite investments that they need so that they can live out their greatest greatness. Since guess what, Portage County? Your children are not competing against children in Cuyahoga County or Franklin County or Benton County or Champaign County or Butler County. Our children, the children of Ohio are competing against folks from other nations. And so the greatest testament to what kind of state we are is how we treat two groups of people, our young people and our elders. And we are failing in the state of Ohio. The folks are heartless and they got to go. So now there's an app for everything. And our app is November. Our app, well, I can't jump over the primary, but May 6th. And then November 4th. And we need to elect all 5 of the folks running as Democrats for statewide office. We got Ed Fitzgerald for governor. We got David Pepper for attorney general. We got John Patrick Carney for auditor. We got Connie Pillage for treasurer. And oh my God, all paths lead through the Secretary of State's office. We got Secretary of I'm running for Secretary of State. Because I'm going to tell you something, for all the other great office holders you want to elect, it starts with a vote. Yes. One woman, one man, one vote. The greatest equalizer that we have, Democrats, the greatest one, where we are all equal, regardless of our gender, our ethnicity, or our social economic status, is when we step into the ballot box, when we step into our polling place to vote, we are equal. And so, but we got Republicans in the state of Ohio and North Carolina and Wisconsin and all over this country who have lost their ever-loving minds. And they have decided that if they can't beat them, they cheat them. And that's what they do. Now, they started off with redistricting. Right? How is it that a state that swings 50-50, 12 of the House seats go Republican and only 4 go Democrat no matter how people vote? Cheat them. They are cheaters. So in order for us to regain momentum as Democrats who care about everybody is to make sure that we win back our 5 statewide offices. We can do this. You can do this. We can do this. I know it's a lot of pressure on us, but we can absolutely unequivocally get this done. So one of the reasons why, I'm not running for a seat, I'm running for a cause, and that cause is unfettered access to the ballot box for all Ohioans. I don't care if they swing red, blue, purple, little country, little rock and roll, doesn't matter to me. I just want them to have that access to vote, because our democracy is better the more people who participate. As Representative Clyde said, I'm running to expand and protect that access to the ballot box. I am pro-voter all the way. All the way. I am running because of the 2 Board of Election members, Tom Ritchie and Dennis Lieberman, who in Montgomery County were fired by this current Secretary of State for the crime of expanding early voting. I am running for the Portage County World War II veteran who was denied access to the ballot box in 2012 because he had his veteran's ID. I am running to make sure that Ohio is the gold standard of elections. We should be proud to be that. But the legislature has taken away Golden Week, the time when you can both register and vote at the same time. They put up these hurdles, immense hurdles when it comes to absentee ballots, that no longer can boards of elections mail out an unsolicited absentee ballot to their communities. And the Secretary of State can only do it if dollars are appropriated by the General Assembly. And then got the nerve to put an amendment to a bill right now, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, not a century, to say that you're going to take away local government funds for any county that says, I'm going to fight this and use funds to expand and protect access to the ballot box. Our democracy cannot stand for what is going on right now. Because I'm going to tell you something, Portage County. Our nation, and all of you know this, we got off to a rocky start. We weren't all about equality for all folks. We get it. We know it, right? Wasn't no women at the table, African Americans, Hispanics. We get it. We got the history. We get it. However, one thing that we can say about this great nation of ours is we have been a nation of progress. Of progress. We can take great pride in that. And so to have people try to take us backwards, we can't do it. We just cannot do it. So I'm running. I am running. Expand and protect access to the ballot box. So I'm excited. You know, I can run around this room, but Connie Pillage does all the running. If you ever see my colleague, Representative Pillage, she'll run around the room. But my slogan is run me to run. That is what I am doing.
Run
so,
me to run. You know, Representative Clyde, I was going to tell him some of the creative things I've done in the legislature to fight back against the craziness, but I'm just going to leave that alone tonight. I'm going to stop right where I am. But I am encouraged to be with the active Democrats because you are the salt of the earth. It is our job to stand up for all folks, regardless of their political affiliation, that we are the party that stands up for social justice and equality for all. We don't need a binder full of women. We ain't got to pretend to change our platform and that kind of stuff. We believe, right? We believe. And so now we got to manifest that in this election. So you got to go out and get people, charge them up, and tell them that they have got to come out to vote. The only way we lose is if we don't vote. There are 1 million more registered Democrats in the great state of Ohio. If we come out, we win. And we don't have to cheat to win. We do have better ideas and better platforms, and we do care about folks. We will win if you come out. So you got to bring some folks with you. You got to. You got to do that. When people ask you, why am I so, excited about what I... See, I'm not conflicted about why I'm in Columbus. I'm not there to look cute. Well, I can do that too. But I'm there to serve the people, and I take that personally. I take that personally, Portage County, because, my parents got married very young. They got married as teenagers. And it didn't work. They were really young, and I'm the oldest of 7 children. And my mother died at the age of 42 years old, if I can just share just a personal story with you. And I'm going to try not to break down because her birthday is coming up and Mother's Day is coming up. And so I'm in a dark period. Any of you who've lost a mother. And then at the age of 42, aneurysm burst in her brain. I was a sophomore at Cuyahoga Community College trying to change the trajectory of my life. Not only did my mother, though, die at the age of 42, I'm the oldest of 7 children. I was 22 and my baby sister was 12 years old. She died at 42 years old, aneurysm burst in her brain. She had no life insurance policy. She didn't have any money in the bank. And she died on the system of welfare. So when people marginalize poor people, I take it personally. Because everybody doesn't run the race at the same pace. My mother grew up in a middle-class household. But for whatever reason, things didn't work out quite right in her life. So she didn't walk a perfect path. But she tried to do the best that she could. And so I declared that, once I kind of tried to get myself together, that if God would give me strength, that I would become a cycle breaker. And I would break the cycle of poverty and undereducation in my family line for my mother's memory. So when I'm serving in Columbus and I got members of the legislature that want to introduce legislation to drug test welfare recipients, I think about my mother. My mother was not addicted to drugs. I meet a lot of poor people. They just need a little more help. So I'm going to tell you something, Portage County did. I introduced a piece of legislation of my own, and that was the drug test members of the General Assembly. Because Republicans never let the truth get in the way of a good story. They got a lot of good stories. The facts don't matter much to them. And the facts are this, that people who are on public assistance don't abuse drugs at any higher rates than everybody else. If it is about protecting taxpayers' dollars, I'm all about that. Then it should start with the members of the General Assembly who are in charge of a $62 billion budget. That's where it should start with. Let's make it fair. You want to marginalize poor people. Something is wrong. When did we lose our empathy and compassion compassion for people. We have elected officials who propagate an agenda of scarcity. An agenda of scarcity. When we should be using your power that you gave us to try to lift folks. There are always going to be outliers. There are outliers among poor people. There are outliers among very wealthy folks.
Amen.
Why are we marginalizing people who are struggling every single day? Something is wrong with that. So I get mad. I got a righteous indignation about that. Now, Rep, I ain't going to talk about my erectile dysfunction bill.
Tell it!
I just gotta share. See, because they got a super majority in the legislature. But I walk in there every day like I am in the majority. I'm just getting ready. Right? You gotta practice. I say I'm duly elected just like they are. I can introduce legislation. So, I know we all got different views on choice and all of that kind of stuff. But, the thing that was really getting to me is that you defund Planned Parenthood when that organization really funds poor women, just poor families, just having access to health care. Forget, choice, pro-choice, whatever. Forget all of that. So Portage, they introduced this bill called the Heartbeat Bill. I call it the Heartless Bill. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a lead from the greater sex. Me. And since it was more important to regulate women's health care than to educate our children, make sure local governments have funding, I'll deal with erectile dysfunction. That's what I did. So in this bill, a man would have to have a signed affidavit from his significant other attesting to the fact that he got challenged. Cardiac stress test every 90 minutes. So anyway, I did that bill. There was a lot more to it. But this was the point that I was making. And I never forget, I had a reporter say, Senator, are you serious about this bill? I said, oh yeah, I'm serious. I am serious as men that try to regulate a woman's health care. Isn't it funny that the party that says that they are for smaller government wants it just small enough to fit into a woman's womb? That women are being treated like children, like second-class citizens. Something is wrong with that. So as women today, who will it be tomorrow? Is women health care today, who tomorrow? We have to be careful about how these things are coming up out in public policy. That decision, I can't tell you how many doctors called and emailed and said that the legislature is making it harder for doctors to even do their jobs. Yes. There's one bill pending right now, Representative, I don't know if that bill is still pending, $1 million fine for a doctor. For a doctor. That is not the kind of Ohio or America that we should live in. We should live in one that lifts people, that helps people. Not one that suppresses people and denies the opportunity. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to live a good life. So Democrats, we got to put a little extra on our ordinary. That's all we have to do. We will win this election for all Ohioans. So I want to close with this, because I'm just getting warmed up. I'm feeling good, Portage County. Y'all know how to treat the system. But I just want to end on this. So I care, and I just cited those examples. I mean, I've worked on bills, as I said, Representative Clyde and I have been pushing the envelope and trying to make sure that people do have that access to the ballot box. I worked on budgeting issues. I mean, I've done those deep issues that are important. But if we want better, elections have consequences. So if we want better outcomes, we need different types of people elected to office, and that power is in our hands to vote. And no matter how they change the rules of the game, we got to study the rules of the game and still play the game until such time that we can change the rules for the better to expand and protect the right to vote. So in closing, Portage County, 3 things I want you to remember if you don't remember anything else I've had to say here tonight. Number 1, I believe that the creator of this great universe has given us 2 hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. We are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. Everybody does not run the race at the same pace. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody. Number two, and most importantly, we can't ask other folks to do more for us than we are willing to do for ourselves. Democrats, we got to get out there and do this thing. You know, Frederick Douglass once said that you might not get everything that you work for, but you will work for everything that you get. We understand that. We are a working people. We get it. But lastly, in the words of my grandmother, now grandma was hell from the south. She couldn't read or write. She only had a 3rd grade education, but she could count her money. And she kept her money in the Southern Ladies Bank Trust with a handkerchief. Any of you who have a Southern grandma, you know what I'm talking about. You got that. So when I asked Grandma, I said, Grandma, what does it take to be successful in this thing called life? She said, my dear granddaughter, all you need are the 3 bones. So I want to leave you with Grandma's 3 bones: the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do every single day is because we hope and we believe that tomorrow will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth to power, or in the words of Dante, the hottest places of hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis choose neutrality. We have a great moral crisis on our hands, Democrats. We have a Supreme Court that said Citizens United was okay, but struck down portions of the Voting Rights Act. And then in this last case, the McClellan case, we are turning into a society where only plutocrats, government by the wealthy, is going to be the order of the day. So on top of that, I want you to think about that. On top of redistricting, and then on top of all the attacks against voting rights, if each one of us does not put a little extra on our ordinary, we are going to have a problem. This is real. This is our assignment, that we got to get people energized and we got to get them out to vote. But Grandma said all the hoping, wishing, talking in the world, she said all of that is good, but it doesn't mean a thing unless you have the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious bone.
That's right.
And that is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep us standing, Democrats, and we know how to stand. Let us remember why we are Democrats. Let us put a little extra on our ordinary, and we have an app for all the foolishness that is going on, and it is called the elections of 2014. God bless you, Portage County.